So the 1 second, sorry. Yeah. The Mishnah says lo yarba lo susim ela kedei merkavta. He shouldn't have too many horses. The melech, the kesef lo zav lo yarba lo. This is all based on Psukim Parsha Shoftim, and also you shouldn't have too many riches. Ela kedei liten the kesef zav lo yarba lo ma'od ela kedei liten aspanya. Should have enough to pay his soldiers. The kesef le sefer Torah lishmo. And he writes a Sefer Torah lishmo for himself. So we're gonna get into some of the dinim of Ksiva Sefer Torah. There's a fascinating Rav Isser Zalman that points out on the Rambam. I didn't have the Rambam sent to copy, but he points out that the Rambam seems to write that there is an additional chiyuv of Talmud Torah to the Melech above and beyond everyone else, meaning. The Rambam writes that he has bechol ace, that he should always look into the Sefer Torah that he writes, and therefore it should always be accessible to him at all places. So the Rish Zalman and Eben Ezel, he asks, everyone has this chiyuv. We all have a chiyuv bittul Torah. Whenever we're not taken away from something else, we have a chiyuv of Talmud Torah, Agisa bo yom v'layla. So there seems to be some additional chiyuv that the Melech has, which Rish Zalman tries to work on, that it might not be the case when it comes to a melech that he has these other, meaning for us, if we have to do something, we have to work, we have some other requirements, so that's not a din bittul Torah. It could be that when it comes to the melech, this added chiyuv of having a Sefer Torah accessible to him shows him that you're not really potter at those times. You have to make sure that you're either it's multitasking or in some way you might not necessarily have the same leniencies as other people have, that it's not bittul Torah when I have other requirements to do. It's not true. By the Melech, no matter what he's doing, he needs a Sefer Torah around, above and beyond everyone else.
It's part of the mitzvah of Melech, or it's part of the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, or it's part of
it's part of the mitzvah of Melech, because the regular mitzvah of Talmud Torah would not require that. That's what Rish Zalman is pointing out, that the regular dinim of Agisa bo yom v'layla, if you're doing something else and you're allowed to be doing that thing, so then that's not bittul Torah. Where it comes to the Rambam, it seems like there's some additional chiyuv of Talmud Torah,
only on the Melech.
which probably is because he has a very Torah is a safeguard in order that he doesn't let things get carried away from this din of Melech. And as we'll see, as the Gemara's Mirz Hashem in the future when we come back, that's why he has a separate chiyuv. He doesn't suffice with one Sefer Torah, but he needs two Sefer Torah.
Even Lashon adds possible Sefer Torah Lishma, it's like Sefer Kusar.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yoitzel Milchama, Moitzia Ima. So wherever he's going to go, if he goes out to war, make sure that the Sefer Torah is with him. The Gemara is going to go on to say that the Sefer Torah, you think the Sefer Torah is manazeh are tiny. I think the way it is, I'm not so experienced in this area, but the way it is that the smaller the print, the more expensive it is. So like those tiny Sefer Torah that they have now, that's like $20,000 extra from a regular Sefer Torah. So this Sefer Torah that the Melech had was around his arm. It was like a kamiyah, like he mamish walked around like a, mamish small. I don't even think that the Sofrim can do that. I'm not sure what the smallest one is. Yotzol Nochamot Tziyama Nichnasu Machnisa Imo Yoshev Bedin Hi Imo Mesiv Hi Kenegdo. So whatever he's doing, lying down, whatever he's judging, so it's always going to be Shnemer B'Haisa Imo V'Karabo Kol Yamav. As the pasuk says, like what we're saying, that he has a chiyuv to read it all day. So what do you mean? Everyone has a chiyuv to be v'agisa bo yom v'layla. No, there's an additional chiyuv when it comes to the melech that he has a chiyuv kol yom. Where's this pasuk from? Shoftim. Oh, that parsha. Okay, good. Kol yom, that the chiyuv, the pturim of Talmud Torah do not apply to the melech like they do by everything else. Just the Rishonim point out here. The Ran over here asks. Yoshev Bedin Hi'imo. Anyone bothered by that line? Yoshev Bedin Hi'imo.
When does he go to the Meshach?
Right, Melech's lo done. So the Mishnah is Seiser, what we learned at the beginning of the parak, the Melech's lo done.
He could be done without he doesn't need a basin to be done. So in his executive judgment.
So Abe's saying that, excellent. So Abe's saying, first of all, maybe we should, mitachsisei amelech, whatever he needs to make, he makes the call, he makes the call about a certain Hara Shah. Melech has the ability to Dan, we're going to learn in Prakim Lekamon that the Melech has the ability to be done a Horasha and take matters into his own hands without Hasra, without anything. That's part of keeping social order. So how do you know that he can keep a conscience when he does that? So he's going to need a Sefer Torah. So that's some of the Rishonim have that pshat. Or some of the Rishonim say that this is Malchi Beis David. The din of Melech Lodan, if we remember from the beginning of the parak, was the story by Malchi Yisrael. Because of the story with Yanai Melech and that horrible situation that happened, but by Malchi Beis David, maybe it didn't apply, or there is maybe dinim. Mamonis, some Rishonim said he's allowed to be done. He's not done other things. He's just not Yeshiv and Sanhedrin. Some way you're going to have to read this and explain this line of Yoshev din Imo in one of those few options. Fine. So the Gemara goes on. I want to read a little bit Gemara, and then hopefully we'll go through these dinim. Yeah, let's go. Tana Rabbanan. Lo yarba lo susim yochel afilu kadei merkavto uprashav. No marba aval marba hu kadei richbo uprashav. No, he can't do it for his own personal affluence, but he can have it for the sake of the others. Minayin shafilu sus echad v'hu batal shulu below yarba. How do I know that he violates even if he has one extra horse? Based on the Psukim and Parsha Shoftim, so says the Torah, Tamalomer Larban Harbos Sus. Even one sus, he already violates the loisase. So now the Gemara says, wait a second. Once the Torah says that I have one sus, I'm over the loisase. So then why did the Torah have to go on to say susim lamali? Why did it have to say many susim? So listen to what the Gemara says. Lavor beloisase al kol sus v'sus. So the Gemara is saying is a chiddush. Not only if he has one, but on every extra horse that he has, the melech violates a losase. That's why I need both of these psukim. Time der karos rachman Allah yehalav hava mina afilu kedei richbo ufrashav namilo. So the Gemara says, and you would have thought, and if it didn't say the pasuk of lo, you would have thought he can't have an army. He can't have for his chariots. So the Gemara says, no, lo tzricha lafushe. We're talking about that he can't have extra. Bahar vacha. Okay? But avada, the Torah knew, even without the word lo, that he can have enough for his chariots in order to have a presence of the army there. Fine. So the question is as follows. There is a kasha of the Avnei Nezer. That's a fascinating question. You have the Avnei Nezer there, Adi? Did I put it there? No, I put the Avi Ezri. That was a trick. What? That's from Shach. This is the Sachachover Rebbe, father of the Shem Shmuel. So he asks a Bam Kasha that really opens up this Gemara. But I need to give a little background in order to understand this Kasha. There's a halacha that if you give me hasra, right, so then I suffer the consequences. Let's talk about alav for malchus. You give me hasra and I eat nevela, so I get malchus, okay? And that's true also if I violate even without hasra, right? Let's say in the world of onish b'dei shamayim, kares. If I sleep with a nida, so then I suffer kares. Fine. Then there's a chiddush haTorah of something called, that the Gemara in Krisis talks about, Gufim Muchlakim. Okay? If there are separate objects that I'm violating this Aveira one after the other with different objects, then the Torah says that I'm over on kol guf v'guf. Lamashal. I ate a piece of nevela, then I eat a piece of chazer, and I eat a piece. So, and right? And then I get or 5 nevelas, different gufim. So now I get malchus on every kol guf v'guf. Or I sleep with 5 nidas. Then even though I only got 1 asra, Gufim Muchlakim is now a mechalik that I get onshin for each one of those averos. That's the halacha of Gufim Muchlakim. It's very similar to what we have in Shabbos, right? Shabbos, you have the chiddush, like we never know nafkaminas of avos and toldos. Who cares whether or not something's an av or a tolda? This is a tolda of this av and this is a tolda of that. to be honest, in most of our practical implications, it doesn't really make a difference. You might have some chidushim according to some rishonim, by ein sarach legufa, maybe by a tolda, but by and large, you have very little to talk about of avos and toldos, which is something really primary and basic for Hilchos Shabbos of what's an av, what's a tolda, but it does happen after within the world of chiyuvei chatos and the world of onshin, that if a person has one helim, right, he forgot about Shabbos at one shot in one instance, and he was doing many different avos. So then each av are what's called in halacha. This is the notion of, that's what it means when someone uses the phrase chiluk malachos. Just like you have Gufim Muchlakim, they're going to be chayav achatos. Even in one helim, you forgot the isser once on every guf that you just violated with. Even though in general, if I eat a bigger piece of cake, I'm not going to be chayav an isser, right? Here, since it's Gufim Muchlakim, even if I only forgot it once, I have to bring a chatas for every guf that I violated the isser. So too, the chiddush of the Torah is when it comes to malachos, if it's a separate av, not the av with the tolda itself, then you don't get another chiyuv chatas. Then the avos, that's what's called chilik malachos. Chilik malachos for the implication of karbanos. So comes along the Avnei Nezer, and he says, you think you have an innocent gemara over here? Lo yarba lo sus. Ask the Avnei Nezer a bam kasha. He says, the gemara asked the kasha. What do I need once I know lo yarba lo sus? So then what? Susim lamali. Sends the gemara. No, susim is a giloy in the pasuk. Lavor al kol sus v'sus. So what's the Avnei Nezer's kasha? You wouldn't have chayiv anyways. Why don't you apply the principle, the old principle of Gufim Muchlakim to this gemara? That's the bam kasha of the Avnei Nezer. This gemara seems to ignore the concept of Gufim Muchlakim. That's the kasha of the Avnei Nezer.
Isn't different meaning. It's just if you have a lot of the same exact
different bodies. Even if I have 5 nidas in front of me, that's the same isser. It's the same isser, same issers. So I think Eitan is getting onto the answer without fully saying it. What do you mean? I think he's right. There's a difference. It's clearly distinct when I bowl 5 nidas that I violated 5 isur.
It's clear.
That's clear.
Because when the Torah is saying susim, it's saying, if I would have said lo yarba lo sus, 100%, 1 sus, 10 sus, it's Gufim Muchlakim. By saying susim, he's saying this is an exception to Gufim Muchlakim.
No, adarabba. Other way around. The pasuk is telling you that you're over on kol sus v'sus. So we're asking now. The Nezer is asking you. I would have known that without a pasuk. Gufim Muchlakim. So perhaps there is a sefer Margolius Hayam, written on by Rav Ruva Margolius, fascinating sefer from Masechus Sanhedrin, and he writes. He tries to take a few dabs at this kasha, this murderous kasha. He says chilukim. He says maybe chiluk malachos we find like legabe bol nidos. Maybe you have a situation where each guf needs its own action, right? I'm bowl this one, and then I'm bowl this one. Maybe I could have gotten, a discount, Emporio, 80% off. I got for Susim sale, what I'm saying? I bought them all in one package. Maybe Gufim Muchlakim doesn't apply if I can buy it in all in one shot. So maybe I wouldn't apply Gufim Muchlakim in this scenario. Could be.
Maybe it's something to do with the melech itself.
That what?
No, has
That
an exception.
if it says here specifically sus about melech, maybe you can derive
That what?
that melech may not.
You wouldn't have Gufim Muchlakim? See, the problem with saying that is Gufim Muchlakim is a svara to apply to the losases of the Torah. Yeah. I mean, the Avnei Nezer is saying once I have it by some losases, it's tough to say why it wouldn't apply. This is a lav in the Torah. Lo yarba lo susim is one of the lavim in the minyan mitzvahs. So it's tough to say why melech would be different in this isser of lo yarba lo susim. So the next words of the pasuk is that what?
Right, don't bring them to Mitzrayim.
About Yashem Mitzrayim, right. So is this whole isser, Rashi writes on the Torah, this whole isser is like a gzeira min ha-Torah, not to come and to be chayzer to Mitzrayim. So perhaps Gufim Muchlakim only apply to independent isurim. not isurim that are usur because of other reasons. You know, when the Torah sets up a geder, some Rishonim want to say like that. The problem with answering like that is now you're getting into shaky water. The Ramban clearly attacks Rashi, and it's problematic because the Ramban says, what do you mean the reason the Torah asked the Melech to get Susim is because it's going to go down to the Mitzrayim? No. The Torah asked Susim is because Susim is not relying on a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and you're going to get too involved. It's an independent Isser. Then the Torah said an additional Isser, by the way, the Melech should never go down to Mitzrayim and set up his forces from Mitzrayim as a separate Avera. But Avada, it's Usser independently. The Ramban brings a proof. Because don't tell me it's because of an Isser to go down to Mitzrayim, because I'm allowed to go down to Mitzrayim, Prakmatia. Yerushalmi says Beferish for business, I'm allowed to go down to Mitzrayim. So that can't be the reason. If it was just to buy some susim from Paro in Mitzrayim, that wouldn't be a reason to aser it. So according to the Ramban, the Isser of the Abnei question will come back. That won't be, unless you say another option, a third option, maybe one will say is, no, buy a nida, so then that's an Isser mitzad the chefza. She's something that's metuah. She's something that's Asr. And Gufim Muchlakim maybe only apply to an Isser chefza. Lo yarba lo susim is something that's going to distract the melech, but it's not necessarily something abhorrent and something disgusting. Klape the melech. So these are different options that the Achronim give in order to try to resolve the Avnei Nezer that might have implications in other areas of halacha, whether you apply Gufim Muchlakim to all Isurim in the Torah.
So you're really going to get, the Hana is going to get is having so many horses, but to have 50 versus 70. Excellent. So this is where I think Eitan was going. That's where I think you were going to begin with. Excellent. So the Avnei Nezer deals with this kasha by quoting a Ran on Ardaf. Let's see the Ran. And that ultimately sheds a new light on the entire Gemara. The Avnei Nezer, again, he asks this kasha by Gufim Muchlakim, and he says, very similar to what Eitan's saying, perhaps Gufim Muchlakim would never have applied to this scenario were it not for me to have the additional pasuk of Susim, L'rabos kol sus v'sus. Why? Says the Ran, in the Amud Kuf Lamed Tes, the Ran says, Rashi Logaris be'esei el lavar akol sus v'sus v'leka hacha esei klal. It's 4 lines down in that column, Chafal from base. El di'i kasa rachmano lo yarba lo susim hava b'mashma. I would have thought shelo yarvor ella al susim shehem yoser mishnayim va'afim hayalo elef shelo yarvor ella lav echad. Meaning, if that would have been the pasuk, right? If that all I would have had of lo yarba lo susim, I would have thought that whenever there's any riboy more than 2, that is the isser. The isser is to have a riboy hasus. The nature of the isser is to have plenty, no matter what the number is. That's the avera. How many averas? 1 avera. You have too many. Meya katrei, exactly. Trei kameya, exactly. Boa kosav, so says the Ran, listen, this is the way you run the Gemara. Boa kosav de leman harbos asus lechalek shoiver afilu al sus echad. V'mahem harbe over al kol echad v'echad. Says the Ran, the Avnei Nezer's kasha is a gavaldige kasha, but it's not a raya from here to anywhere else in Shas. Because the 2 psukim over here are being megala to me that I would have learned the Yisr in a different way. What would I have learned? I would have learned the nature of lo yarba lo sus is what? To have any riboy asus, like Abe said, trei kameya. You're now violating the Yisr of lo yarba lo sus. And if this melech has 500 and this melech has 6,000, that's the violation. It was over the lav of lo yarba lo sus. Comes along, the Torah was megala to me. No, don't learn like you thought that the Yisr is riboy asus. The Yisr is having each and every extra sus that you're now chayav on each and every one. That's the nature of the Isser. Memela Zakte Avnei Nezer, there's no raya here at Gufim Muchlakim, because whenever you would have opted and you would have had an option to learn the Gemara differently, then you can't ask from Gufim Muchlakim. The Torah is coming to me, Megalim to me, to learn it as an Isser that is like Gufim Muchlakim, because I wouldn't have learned that it was Usser als every Guf. By Nida, I never had a Havamina not to learn that every Nida would be Usser on their own. So this is very Nogeya to a totally separate Indian. In this week's Parsha. What's this week's Parsha?
Totally separate inyan. Rav Shach quotes our Gemara, and he builds from this a tremendous yesod, which is really fundamental for the rest of Shas, learning about Yisurim, when you're over many Yisurim, when you get many Malkias, when you don't get many Malkias. Where is this? It's in the Hilchas Avodah Zarah. Oh, please don't tell me I took the wrong one. You know, it's here. Page Lamed Hey. Good. So before we do this Avi Ezri, this Rav Shach, let's look at the Ram. Look at the Ram Parag Gimel Alach Gimel when he quotes our Gemara. V'lo yarba lo susim, Parag Gimel Alach Gimel, Ela Kadei Merkavto, like the Gemara says. Afilu sus echad poni, even one extra sus, right? That's what the Torah said sus. Lios ratz lefanav kederach sha'osin shara malachim aser, v'im hoisif loike. And if he has more, then he gets malchus. Good. Frek the Kesef Mishnah, frek the Radvaz. I don't have the Kesef Mishnah here, you'll believe it, but the Radvaz.
Where is the sus?
Exactly. Frek the Kesef Mishnah, frek the Radvaz. Exactly what Adi is asking is that the Rambam seemed to leave out a chiddush of the Gemara that you're loke al kol sus v'sus. So why doesn't he say that? Okay, good. So now let's see this Rav Shach.
If Hosef Lokas, he Hosef once or twice. So that's the Pashas, he Hosef any amount.
So you don't think, Abe, so the Kesef Mishnah is going to say to you, if the Rambam held
Then
that
every
so the Rambam
Hosef
should
one
say
on-
that to you. Yeah. It's going to be a big nafkamina. Your back's going to hurt after that. You know?
They
Fine.
give the Melech Malchus.
Sure. Sure.
Wow.
Who else is like it here? Yeah. Yeah. What is an interesting question is you probably give him Malchus. I could honestly say I haven't thought about this, but you probably give him Malchus without judging him.
Because you're going to be judged.
Right. But that's fascinating. I don't know. That's
Does the Gemara have a case with the Melech was Lokas?
so the Gemara says
If they can done, they can be judged.
right. The Gemara says Midat Torah. Right. The Gemara says, but then the Gemara says ain't done him by both. No.
It's not good to be
Right. Amar V'Yezaloshan Al Malchus Yisrael. Malchus Beis David Don V'Don and Oson. Right.
The whole problem is created because it uses the lashon of having too many.
Yeah.
If the lashon had been just don't have any,
Have five.
have only as many as you need. Then you don't have that problem.
Which problem?
The only reason this is a problem is because it's not defined,
Right.
right? If you
Excellent.
just only have enough.
Excellent. That's mamish word again. Excellent. Good. Perfect.
So why
Meaning
word it that way?
a number would have helped.
Yeah.
Excellent. Hold on.
Because you have the other problem that I told
Excellent.
5 minutes ago. Is that you had 20. 20 was the
Excellent.
right number. All of a sudden, the political situation says, here's
Perfect.
10 extra.
So listen to this. Listen to this, Rashach. Imamish hit the nail on the nose. Good. Excellent. So let's see the Rambam over here. It's a totally separate issue that we're going to get into, but it's very nogay to this week's parsha. It's something you could talk about at the table, about cutting your arms on a mace and making bald spots on your head, which is a lav daraisa, which is the Torah says lo yikrachu ala mace lo yisratu sareta. Right. So that right, and that's these isurim. So now let's read the round. Aser liksom v'lishrol lekosem elashashol lekosem makenos amadas mardos aval lekosem atzum asa ma'isem mikol iluk yitzbem lokesh nemer lo yimtza b'cham mavir b'no kosem ksamen. So if you have people that are involved in this, black magic things and witchcraft in Yanim, that's the shoel is going to get Marcus Durabanan, and the person who performs it himself will get Marcus Duraisa. V'hine. B'sifrei for Parsha Shoiftim, Nidrish Ksamim L'chayav al Kol Kesem V'Kesem. The Sifrei says, any time he does his magic, each time he does it, he's chayav each time. Good. The pashtus is that what's the scenario? He did a bunch of ksamim, and he got one warning. V'asa harbe ksamim shechayav malkus al kol kesem v'kesem. Like what? Kind of very similar to what? Gufim Muchlakim. Good. Shehein kamo Gufim Muchlakim. Kamo shenidrish kein besof makas daf chafam beis gam le'inyan karcha. And we have this legabe our parsha, legabe the bald spots in response to death. Shechayev, that what? Al kol karcha v'karcha. You got hasra, a person says to you after Nebuch Rachman Litzlan a mace, and a person wants to respond physically by ripping out his hair or causing shaving bald spots on his head, right? And the Ram says the shear is a gris, right? A penny. So you do a few spots of bald spots, and you got one asra, you'd be chayiv on kol karcha v'karcha. Good. So why didn't the Rambam tell us this halach? V'nira says Rav Shach. The kamo kain isa b'sanhedrin daf chaf alef beis our daf. B'halav de lo yarba lo susa. V'dar sham b'gemara da'afilu sus echad v'hu batal kaya b'lo yarba. So the Gemara says that even one sus you violate. Umatam alomer susim, lavor al kol sus v'sus. The Gemara tells you to tell you that you're violating each sus. Ubaharamam perikim alacha gimel kasav rakas iser laharbo sus afilu sus echad aser v'im hosef loka. Va'amad shama kesef mishnah. The kesef mishnah asks adis kasha al mashe hishmin aramam haisha oiver al kol sus v'sus umemela yilka al kol sus v'sus. Why did the Rambam leave out the last chiddush of the Gemara? Ulam ayin sham beperish haradvash shekazal l'taretz lo nafkamina midi. Fine. Let's skip the rest of this paragraph. Let's go to Rav Shach's chiddush. V'nira bebir. Next paragraph. Listen to what Rav Shach says. It's gevaldik. V'nira bebir zeh. Dinei zeh barer she'im achol chelev v'bas achas shtei zeisim v'asra achas. The halacha is a person ate 2 kazesim of chelev, right? And he got 1 hasra. Sha'af shaloka rach achas, even though I only get 1 malchus, right? Because not Gufim Muchlakim here. It's 1 piece of chelev. Just happened to be a large piece, a large sandwich. Mikol makom ha'isurim vadei she'over al shnei lavim shekol shir v'shir hu belav. Now, again, when a person eats chelev, I'm sorry, and I got 1 asra, and it's 1 piece of chelev, even though there are 2 kazesim there, how many times am I going to give him malchus? I can only give him malchus once. But now Rav Shach wants to ask a different question, which is a chiddush that Rav Shach is saying, but I think is right. But he wants to know klape shmaya, when he does tshuva on Yom Kippur, how many averis was he over? The litmus test for that is not going to be on the onesh, but he violated 2 isurim because he ate 2 kazesim. Because kazayis, kol kazayis is another avera. Even though for Hasra you can only get malchus once, we're going to get malchus once. Good. Shekol shir v'shir hu belav. Any measurement, he's over a lav. Fine. Ulam zerakim yeshir ala iser. This is exactly what you were saying. This only applies to isurim that have prohibitions, that have shiurim, that have measurements. Like a kazayis. Ozadin shashir mechalik ha'isurim. So the shir itself makes 1 lav plus 2 lav plus 3 lavs. Yeah, you might only get 1 malchus because it's not Gufim Muchlakim, but you violated the amount of kazesim that you ate. The shir is mechalik the isurim. Aval iser kazeh. It's so fundamental for understanding isurim. Aval iser kazeh she'ein lo shir. Let's say you had Lamashal, I don't even have an example. Let's say you had an Isser of Macholos Asurus that the Torah never said a shear of Kazais. The Torah just says don't eat it, whatever, and you don't have the shear. So the Rav Shach says fundamentally you're violating 1 Isser by eating the entire piece because there's no shear to be mechalik into many different Isurim. The loy name a shekol mashu over belav. Rather, in the case of chelev, since you have the shir kazayis to be mechalik, that's mechalik into separate isurim. So listen to what he says. Umishum kain, we come back to our parsha. Hadin bekarcha
shenisrabel lechayev al kol karcha v'karcha. There's a drasha in the Torah to tell me that I have a pasuk in this week's parsha to tell me that every karcha that I do, every patch that's the size of a gris, I now am mechayev on it. So what's that pasuk coming to tell me, says Rav Shach? I have two options. Either the Torah is coming to tell me that I violate many isurim on every karcha that I do, or the Torah is coming to tell me that I get more punishments on every karcha that I do. What's that going to be based off of? Well, exactly. It's going to be based on whether or not this Isser has a shear. Meaning, if without the Torah saying this Chiddush and this Riboy, I already knew that every karcha has its own shear and is an independent halachic reality, so I'm already over an Isser. Even if you give me one hasra, klape shmaya, I did 5 karchas, so I was violate 5 isurim. And after that, the Torah in this week's parsha, Parshas Re'eh, says, chayiv al kol karcha v'karcha. So that must be coming to tell me what? Malchus. That's why you're getting Malchus on every karcha v'karcha. But if it's something that doesn't have a shear, it's something that before the Torah talking, I wouldn't have known that it was a separate Isurim, and I would have all bunched it together, be part of one Isser. Then when the Torah comes and be Mechadish it, all the Torah is coming to tell me is what? Is that you should know there's a lav, but not that there's Malchus. Zok Shach, that's exactly the pshat over here. Sharibu Yishiyok al Korchach, it's exactly what you said. Al Korchach Dilainian Shaiver Balav al Kol Korchach Lo Tzrichan Shem Riboy. Because of what Eitan said, because there's a gris, Shari Karcha Yesh Lashir. K'mofurish Barambam. Vim Ken Pshita Shem Osa Kama Kircha Shaiver Balav al Korchach v'Karcha Behecha Sharibu Yilachayva Malkis. Because otherwise I didn't need the Torah to say anything. I'll call Karcha v'Karcha. V'din our Karchas K'mo Gufim Muchlakim. Now it's a Chiddush L'gabe the Onesh, just like by Nidus, so too by Gufim Muchlakim. Aval B'Seret Ein Shir Ba. So says the Rambam, that says Rav Shach, that's why the Rambam didn't say your Chayav al Kol Srita v'Srita. Because Srita, in this week's Parsha, doesn't have a shear. So without the Riboy HaTorah, I would have thought what? It's all one package. It's all one Isser. You violate one Isser. The Torah says, the Sifrei says, I'll call Srita v'Srita. Yeah, that's not Linyan Malchus, that's Linyan Isser. It's coming to tell you something that you didn't know. Im keinem also kam Sritas bedin shalav echad over alayu shkulim biyachad Isser lasso seratu v'lav echad Srita gedoli al zeba Riboy. Now I have a pasuk, I'll call Srita v'Srita. L'chayiv I'll call Seret v'Seret. But not to get an Oynesh. That I wouldn't have known because I would have said all the Srita combined together. Now you're over many different Yisur. Good. So says Rav Shach, and then he fears back to our suga. Says Rav Shach.
Because sus is a sus. Sus is a shear.
Yeah, but Adi, no. This Rav Shach is dependent on the Ran and what we just said. Again, what did the Ran say? The Ran said that because the Torah just said Lo Yarba Lo Susim, so we would have said the Isser is what? Is for many. Just to have a Riboy Sus. You're violating one Isser, you're packaging in one deal. It's like that one big piece of Isser without any Shiurim. What did the Torah come and be Mechadish with the two psukim? There's a shear to the Isser. The shear is what? Sus. The shear is sus. That's the Isser. Sus became a kazayas. Sus became a kazayas. Before I had the second pasuk, I would have said Sus is not a kazayas. Sus is melech. Stop. You should be a little controlled. You shouldn't be a multi-millionaire. You should be connected to the Rebbeinu Shalom. So how much would I have said? Whatever. I don't know. I don't have a shear. I don't have a measurement. But whatever is a lot, and I'm going to throw that into the lav. But it's all one lav. Oh, says Rav Shach. So this Rav Shach, it's funny, he doesn't quote the Ran. But the Ran is a riot to his pshat in the Rambam. The Ran that, again, let's say it again. The Ran that the Avnei Nezer uses to answer his kasha on why the Gemara ignores Gufim Muchlakim is the same exact yisod that Rav Shach is saying to explain why the Rambam doesn't say you get Malchus on each sus. Because you don't get Malchus on each sus. Because you would have thought what? It's not even usher. You would have thought it's all one package. I can't own many stables. I can't own many extra susim. But there's no shear to this isser. What did the pasuk come to tell me? You should know. There's a shear and there's an isser, but there's no malchus. And that's what Shach says. That's why the Rambam deliberately left out the din of Malchus. Because the Chiddush HaTorah was only to tell you that it's Aser. But there is no Malchus. You only get one Malchus for that original Isser. Meaning it doesn't now become like Gufim Muchlakim. So the exact same way that the Avnei Nezer answers, he just quotes the Ran on our daf that Mamish learned the Havamina of the Gemara based on the two psukim to teach you that you would have learned the Yisr differently, is now Rav Shach saying La Alocha. That's why the Rambam says there's no Malchus over here on the second Yisr. Because it actually, at the end of the day, is like that. And the Chiddush HaTorah is just to tell you that you're over on every sus, but you don't get Malchus on every sus. Because I need the Chiddush HaTorah to tell me that I'm over on every sus. Because I would have learned that this is like an Isser that doesn't have a shear, that doesn't have measurements. And now it becomes that Susim are just like in our Parsha, the Isser Srita. At the end of the day, once we have the two psukim, the Isser of Susim are like the Isser Srita, which didn't have a shear. And the Torah was Mechadish that every Seret becomes an Isser because I would have known that intuitively because there is no shear. And it's not like Lo Yikruchu Karaches that has a shear, and therefore when the Torah says Lavor B'chol Karcha V'Karcha, it's very meduyuk that the Rambam says only there is there Malchus by every Karcha, and there is not every Malchus, separate Malchus on every Srita. It's all based on what your Svarach Chitzon is.
But why are there more basic concept? Why do you have lavs that have a punishment and lavs that don't have a punishment? So you say now there's a lav.
That's an excellent question.
That doesn't have a punishment.
Good.
You know he's over. He's got to be mechaber.
Excellent question. So there are a lot of rules when it comes to lavim, but which rule would this be a good example of? So there is a concept called lav shebechlalos. The Torah says, let's say, lo sochol al adam, can't eat blood. Included in that lav is you can't eat before Shacharis. You can't, the Gemara has 5 different Isurim that are included in all these other things. So you don't get Malchus for that, because there are many different Isurim that are included in that. Then there is a concept that Rav Soloveitchik thought that another type of lav shebechlolos is certain Isurim you could have the Iker halav. This is what the Torah meant explicitly. And then there's the lav tafel. There's like a subordinate lav that kind of connects to the lav, but that wasn't what the Torah explicitly was prohibiting. So Rav Soloveitchik was of the opinion that that was another example of lav shebechlolos, or was the way some Rishonim define lav shebechlolos. So this would be one example of that. I mean, the Iker lav was, like we set up, don't have too many nechasim. Susim, we don't want you to have too many of. And then the Torah says, and the tefillas to this is another Isser, is that in conjunction to this, but not what we explicitly answered, is that we have a drasha to be over every sus. But again, that's not the real McCoy. That's not the Iker Isser, which is what, again, the Torah tells us when it comes to Lavim and Malchus, it needs to follow specific rules, and it can't be from additional drushas. So that's why you have such a concept. Yeah.
So the bottom line by the Melech, he has to do his shtadlus for security, but he can't do his shtadlus to any degree that he's securing himself.
Right. Now,
for
right.
sure,
that's for personal harvacha. Right. Yeah. Okay. That's in terms of this this Gemara, which is an important yesod. I just have 2 other kashas before we finish the Gemara because I want to get up to Melech. What time is it? We're up to 5 minutes we have? Okay, so just quickly, I want to say out two kashas of the Gemara. So the Gemara goes on because the next Gemara I want to get up to is Ksiva Sefer Torah, which is it's mamish one of the most important Gemaras in the second parak is the din of Ksiva Sefer Torah. This is the next Gemara we'll get to. So the Gemara asks, the next to the Gemara, Tana Rabbanan Kesev Zav Lo Yarbalo. Yachal afilu k'dei lisman Espanya. As the Gemara thinks, maybe you would even think that he can't even be marba to pay his. This is again the isser of having too much money to even pay his chayalim, to pay his soldiers. Tamalomer lo ino marba of a marba who k'dei litain lo Espanya. You can give it in order for the armies. Time the kosher rachman lo halavach havamina afilu k'dei litain Espanya. The Gemara challenges that havamina. You thought that the Melech wouldn't even be allowed to pay his chayalim. No, it's talking about amassing too much that he's going to have too much extra. So now the Gemara says, Hashda da amrit lo lidrasha. This is the line I want to speak about. Hashda da amrit lo lidrasha. So what tells you that he can't have laharvacha, he can't have extra wealth? the pasuk of lo, but he can have la Spanya, right? Lo yarbalo noshim, lo yarbalo noshim, my darshes bay. So what do you do with the lo by noshim? He's not allowed to have more than 18 wives, right? So what do you learn from lo there? You're telling me lo is telling me that it's minimizing the Yisr of Kesav Izav. He can't have to himself, but he can have for Espana. And what's it's excluding when it comes to Nashim? Lo has to be consistent in every one of the three Surim. So the Gemara says, Lemu'ute hedyotos. What does that mean, Lemu'ute hedyotos? Rashi says, Lemu'ute hedyotos, demutarim laharbos nashim. Who's hedyotos?
Non-melech.
Us. Non-melech. Regular people. So you beferish a pasuk in the Torah, a drasha, that's telling you that you could have more than one wife. So when Rabbeinu Gershom answered having more than one wife, isn't this in violation of what the Taz says, that something explicit in Torah is something that Chazal can't answer? Again, the Gemara has a drasha. Loi, Lamute Hedyotis, that Melech can't have more than one wife, but everyone else can.
He didn't ask her. He put into a gezerah, the cherem. If you have more, you have more.
The Ktsois HaChoshen writes by the cherem, the Rabbeinu Gershon, that if you send a shliach to be megarish a woman bal karcho, which is the other cherem that he did, it's ein shliach l'davar avera. So that ktsois is a chiddush, al pi chiddush, because he's applying it to Yisurim D'Rabbanan, right? Cherem D'Rabbeinu Gershon, and whatever. He has a few chiddushim, but we clearly assume that the Cherem D'Rabbeinu Gershon was something that was aser. So how could he go against? The Taz has a din, right? You can't aser Tkiyah Shofar on Shabbos, on Rosh Hashanah. Sorry, the Taz wanted to aser Tkiyah Shofar, right? The Pri Chodesh wanted to aser Tkiyah Shofar on every Rosh Hashanah. Shemei Takim Klishir. Maybe you're going to fix it. The Taz, you saw it. You can't answer something beferish of the Torah that Chazal Darshan Heter. So Imkain, I'm asking on Rabbeinu Gershon, how does he get around this Gemara? So I didn't see anyone that asked this question, but there is a Rabbi Lozer Mesha Horowitz that learns a different pshat in the Gemara. It's referring to his wives. Lemu'ute hedyotos means what? He can't be margit pelagshim. That's not included in the wives. It means nashiv v'loi pelagshim. That would answer my kasha. It's a totally different pshat in the Gemara. The only problem that I have with Rabbi Lozer Mesha Horowitz is that that's also machlokes the Rambam and the Ravid. When you look at the Rambam, what is included in the Yurches Nashim? If you remember, we spoke about this a few weeks ago. So there were some Rishonim that learned, no, the Pilagshim are included in the Yurches Nashim. And that was the Rambam Lishitaso, because the Rambam had to say that, because the Rambam holds otherwise a Pilagesh is also, you can't just stam have a woman that there's no real relationship in that relationship. So the Rambam had to include in the Yurches Nashim such a person like a Pilagesh. So in Cain, that would not be included. That Rabbi Lozer Moshe Horowitz would only work within the Ravid, not in the Rambam. But if anyone has an answer, that's my last question. Give me one more minute. The Gemara goes on to say, Astirim Psukim, that the Gemara goes on to say that by every other person, by every other Isser, we would have had the Tam explicit in the Torah. So what the Gemara goes on to say, why didn't we say it? Because of what happened with Shlomo Melech. That's the last Gemara when it comes to these dinim of the Isurim for Melech. Shlomo said, Lo yarba lo noshim, Shlomo ani arba v'lo aser. Uksiv, Shlomo wanted to rely on himself. I'm going to have more wives, and you'll see nothing's going to happen. And what happened? All of it happened. By he lay sick na Shlomo noshav, by he to es lebavo, and they convinced him to go off the path. Uksiv, lo yarba lo susim. And it says what? Lo yarba lo susim. V'amar Shlomo ani arba v'lo yashiv. Uksiv, v'atetzim berkava mitzrayim b'sheish. Fine. So the Gemara is saying what? Really, by Kol HaTorah Kula, the Torah would have been Megala, the Tamei HaTorah. Can you imagine? But what happened? Look, it was Megala by these three Isurim, and look what happened. Shlomo went off the derech by these Isurim, by Noshim and by Susim. Rabbi Isai, I don't understand this Gemara according to the Ramban. If you remember, we had a Machlokes, the Ramban and Rashi. Why is it Aser to have Susim? So the Rashi says, why? Because you're going to go down to Mitzrayim. Sprek the Ramban can't be. It's mutter to go for schera. It must be it's an independent Isser, has nothing to do with the time of Mitzrayim. Isn't this Gemara? Shlomo Melech used the time and said, I'm going to be fine. I'm not going to go to Mitzrayim. And look what happened. And he violated. So it's a Raya Brura, like Shitas Rashi against the Ramban, that what? That the tam is because of Mitzrayim, and it's not an independent Isser.
Next week we're on.
Next week we're not on. Next 2 weeks.